One march that changed the world. One march that changed the world. Arushi Aisha.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. Before I begin, I want to think about something. Every year during Women's History Month and on Women's International Women's Day, which falls on March 8, we see celebrations all around us. We take women out on lunches, adore them with gifts, flowers, write appreciation posts on LinkedIn, Facebook, and do all sort of felicitations. There's a lot of admiration, appreciation, and a well-deserved recognition. And that's wonderful. A few days back, I was having a casual conversation with some of my friends, and surprisingly, many of them were not aware of how it all started and that there was a movement behind it. That conversation stayed back with me because sometimes we start celebrating moments without fully knowing the history behind them. So today, as you celebrate the last day of Women's History Month, I want you all to take you to the place where it all began. How many of you are from New York City? All right. Imagine it's a regular weekday at 8 a.m. You're walking on the streets you know so well. Coffee in one hand, your favorite music plugged in ears, walking down the path, dodging the street, and maybe you're even jaywalking past a yellow cab like every New Yorker does. Life feels normal, familiar, and predictable. But hold on that thought, because those same streets felt and looked completely different in 1908. Back then, the street was filled with endless clatter of machinery, not cars. The air was thick with dust and chemicals. Thousands of women worked in crowded garment factories, sewing for 14 hours a day, barely making enough to eat. Their hands were raw, their backs aching, their stomachs grumbling. Around them, young girls whispered hopes for a better life. But for now, there was only the endless hum of machinery. And for years, that was life, until something extraordinary happened. Around 15,000 women marched through those factories and marched through the streets of New York, demanding fair pay, shorter working hours, and the right to vote. No social media, no political power, no sponsors, just courage, just voices, just each other. That courage didn't just change their lives, it changed society for everyone. Because of these women, doors began to open. Women gained voting rights, entered universities, and became doctors, scientists, astronauts, and whatnot. Think of Marie Curie working tirelessly in a lab where women were rarely allowed to enter. Or Rosa Parks, whose quiet refusal to give up a bus seat sparked a movement that reshaped civil rights. My favorite, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a trailblazer US Supreme Court justice and lawyer who took a broad look at gender discrimination. And for many of us who hail from India, the story of astronaut Kalpana Chawla, who dreamed of reaching the stars and showed that someone from small town could also achieve the unimaginable. Unfortunately, we lost Kalpana in a Columbia Space Shuttle mission in 2003. Her legacy continues to inspire generations to reach the stars. But history isn't only shaped by famous names. In fact, some of the most strongest, some of the most influential women work tirelessly without recognition. You'll find numerous examples in your surroundings, and for me, that example is of my mother. She took a stand for something that many of us take for granted. She made sure that both her son and daughter get equitable access to opportunities, and this was deeply personal to her. Because when she was growing up, she had seen discrimination in her own home, where the sons of the family were given more access or better opportunities in terms of school, extracurriculars, and the daughters were just restricted to vernacular medium. She chose to break that cycle, and that one decision changed path and possibilities for me. Of course, stories like hers would never make a headline, but it deeply shapes life, family, and future in profound way. Even today, barriers remain. Women still hesitate to apply for opportunities until they feel they are completely ready. Voices still go unheard in meetings. Around the globe, millions of girls still fight for access to basic education. Which brings me to the purpose of my speech today. Each one of us has the power to influence someone's life. You don't need to lead a march of 15,000 people. Sometimes even the smallest action can create biggest impact. Encourage women and girls around you to pursue education and become financially independent. Support a colleague's idea during a meeting if it would otherwise go unheard. Mentor someone who's starting their journey, just like Jessica is helping me in my Toastmasters journey. Acknowledge the silent and often invisible work of people around you. Progress like this doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when all of us decide to support, uplift, and advocate for one another. When women rise, benefits far reach beyond the individual. Organizations become stronger, communities become better, and the next generation begins to imagine possibilities in a bigger way. So, as we close Women's History Month today, I want you to remember something. In 1908, thousands of women marched through the streets of New York, believing their voices mattered. More than 100 years later, we continue to walk on the paths they created, and we all have a role in deciding where it leads next. The question for us is simple: what actions are we going to take today that someone somewhere will remember 100 years from now? History isn't only shaped by famous names. Sometimes it begins with ordinary people. Sometimes it begins when ordinary people take a stand, speak at the right time for what is right, and uplift others along the way. Sometimes it begins with us. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so